Well, welcome to today's rant. Certainly have another interesting day. We have a beautiful day for those of you wanting the weather report, but it's cold, so I'm inside. And but of course we have tremendously eventful day. We've got stock market dropping 666 points almost. Not a good number, 665.75 to be exact. So we did escape the 666 number, barely. But so a lot of people were, what does this mean? What is happening with my 401k? Listen, there is no way for a market to go up without a correction. That's what they call it. It has to happen. When I was an investor and I used to be a day trader, I was heavily into markets and everything, I would have looked at today as one of the best opportunities to start buying stocks. And I've done that in the past and done real well. But there's always a correction. What you want to look at are what are the underlying factors that started the sell-off in the stock market. And these are a little bit beyond your typical correction factors. One thing was they actually have a fear factor, a barometer of fear in the markets, and it went up 26% today. And there's some things that just rattled the markets. So it had nothing to do with the underlying economic condition of the country. A lot of it had to do with the memo, the FISA memo that was released. And this was deeply disturbing. I think, understandably so. It looks like in some ways there was verification for there really being, this sounds like an extreme statement right now, but it's really not. But almost a coup attempt in the U.S., a really slick one, an underhanded one, a behind-the-scenes one that they didn't think anybody would figure out. But we had top people in our FBI trying to determine, and the Department of Justice, by the way, trying to determine the outcome of the election, and if not able to determine the outcome, to remove Donald Trump if by any stretch of the imagination he was to get elected. They had ways to go after him in it. I think the release of this FISA memo is but a tip of the iceberg. Now, I think we would have been seeing a whole lot more. I think we would be. It's my opinion, the way it looks from where I sit, and we all see in part, we know in part. But everything I've seen on this, it looks like there are people in the DOJ that are controlling the Department of Justice more than our Attorney General is. Whether it's Rosenstein or somebody on his level, it really looks like he's calling the shots more than Jeff Sessions. Where is Jeff Sessions in all this? I mean, this is some of the most serious stuff. I know when the memo came out, some people didn't know how to read it, and they said, well, that's not as bad as I was thinking. There are other people saying, this is way worse than I was expecting. Personally, it is pretty much exactly what I was expecting. And I do not think it is an overstatement to say that what we're seeing, that just, I think, is the first of the revelations to come, that we're facing a crisis that was worse than Watergate. That is worse than Watergate. Watergate came from the president down. It wasn't somebody trying to remove the president. It was stupid actions on behalf of the president. And then what he got impeached over wasn't those actions. It looked like those were out of control behavior by people way down the food chain from the president. But where he messed up was he lied to cover it up. And that's what they got him on. But here we've got one of the most serious things that could happen in our government that would destroy our republic would be what this FISA memo indicates was the kind of behavior going on at our FBI to weaponize, politicize, and then weaponize the FBI, especially for the purpose of determining the outcome of an election, which that totally undermines this being a republic, that the will of the people would decide that, is unthinkable. The only thing that I could think of that would be as bad is to politicize and weaponize the IRS. And that happened under the Obama administration. And yet our DOJ, our Department of Justice, said they're not going to prosecute that. It's really not about vengeance. It's not about getting back at political enemies. It's about, these are things that could destroy our republic. For sure, things were done that were, I don't see how they could not be called treason against our country, against our government, and against our republic. They're that serious, and for our Department of Justice to say, we're not going to prosecute those, it's bizarre, and it just shows the lack of real justice that we have when it comes to dealing with people in the political realms. Like they get a pass, they're exempt. And anyway, it is a rattling thing. I can understand the markets being rattled at that, but there were some other factors about the markets. We have, it looks like interest rates, the 10-year bond, government bonds, the interest rates have been, taking some pretty sizable steps up, which says it's going to become more expensive to borrow money. And, but guess what? That means that is really a reflection on the overall health of the economy. If money's getting tighter, it's because more people are seeking to expand, more people are seeking to borrow to expand and all that. So overall, the stock market should see that they have to inch up. I expect they're going to go up to somewhere around 4%, which is the historical average, and which some economists, and I think some of the best economists, say that is actually the most healthy place for these rates to be. But usually when interest rates go up, the stock markets go down and vice versa. Because, stock markets are driven on basically on the profit potential of the companies that you're investing in. If they're having to spend more to borrow money, their profits will probably go down. Well, I think they're going to go down maybe a little bit in a very healthy way. And all of this is pointing towards a fundamental, tremendous health in our economy. So, but things, investors look at things very differently sometimes. They're not looking at the overall health. They're looking at short-term things. There is a whole lot of that goes on. So anyway, I'm not concerned about that. If I were still really invested in the markets, today would be a buying day for me. And but I think it could correct some more too. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see this correction be a little steeper than the normal, simply because the rise in stocks has been way steeper than I think ever in our history. So you would expect the correction to be somewhat more and somewhat steeper than your typical stock market correction. A lot of corrections come because people start taking profits. They just are saying, I don't know how much higher this thing can go. I'm going to go ahead and take my profits now, lock them in. And but they can start from a lot of basic reasons like that. So anyway, I've been getting some texts and emails. What's going on? The world's falling apart. No, it isn't. I feel like the Holy Spirit is continuing to illuminate and reveal things that have been going on that have been seriously undermining our country, our government, our constitutional republic, that were a serious threat to it. They're being found out. Now we've got to see, is there courage and leadership enough in our Department of Justice to prosecute these things? But I think there are worse things to be revealed. Why are the Democrats going so crazy over releasing this? And everyone admitted, intelligence community, FBI, there was no material mistakes in the memo. They agreed it was all pretty factual. Now, what they're saying is that there were many other underlying factors that are still classified and were not released that would draw a different picture on these factors, make it look different. So you know what's going to happen. I think that's a good thing. It is just all of a sudden there's going to be pressure. Okay, let's declassify and release all that. They work for us. The government works for us. In America, the people are the sovereign. And this is a really serious matter, so I'm expecting there to be pressure. And you know what? I think the Democrats are crazy to pressure in this way, because I think it's going to end up making them look worse and worse. You can see where this is going. It doesn't take a genius to see where this is going and what was going on in our FBI and Department of Justice. So anyway, there's some really bad things yet to be revealed. I don't think there's much doubt about that. And a lot of accusations going to be going on, and that's unsettling. This is our government. Many people, they have no one who, unless you have a hope in God, the government's the only thing you have to hope in. And this is deeply troubling to a lot of people who've been conditioned that, your hope has got to be in your government. Well, mine is to a degree when it gets straightened out. And I think we're headed there. I think these things have to be fixed. They have to be found out, and they have to be fixed. So, interesting day, exciting day. And tonight we have our School of the Spirit meeting. If you're in the Charlotte area, we'd love to have you come to 375 Starlight Drive, Fort Mill, North Carolina. We got a special guest speaker tonight, Ken Fish. I had a long lunch with him today. He's an old vineyard guy. I knew him from the vineyard. I'd forgotten I'd met him, but he is close to John Wimber, but he's got an extraordinary healing and deliverance ministry. He's, to me, I think he's really helped to maintain what the vineyard was at one time, which I believe was one of the greatest moves of the Holy Spirit, if not the greatest worldwide, during the entire decade of the 1980s. And I think one of the great moves of God in the 20th century. Truly a remarkable one. And Ken has that DNA, and he's still moving in incredible power, seeing great things, and deliverance. And we've got to see that part of the ministry restored to the church in a big way. And it's time. Listen, we desperately need it. So anyway, if you can join us for tonight's meeting, that would be great. If not, on Facebook, we'll be, you can watch live, or you can go back and watch it later if you can't do it tonight. We'd love to see you there with us. And also, thank you again for all the feedback and comments and all. And, what an awesome, interesting time we live in. And I'm so thankful for it. I just pinch myself every day. How could it get better? It is, there are troubles in the world. But listen, we are seeing one of the greatest moves of God begin to emerge. I've been a part of, I've seen some great things. I've seen some awesome things. And I have no doubt what's beginning to unfold now is the best yet. The Lord really has saved his best wine for last. And just every day I wonder, how is it going to get better today? And by the end of the day, I'm saying, that was better. It is getting better all the time. Doesn't it say that's the path of the righteous is like the light of the dawn that gets brighter and brighter until the full day? So if we're walking on the right path, the path of the righteous, it will get brighter and brighter for us. So that is my prayer for you. I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to do a rant over this weekend. I'm going up for my son's birthday and spend time with Julie and some of our kids up in the mountains, and but also of course, the Super Bowl is on this weekend, and two awesome teams. But it came out today, the quarterback for the Eagles, who's had such a phenomenal year, is his goal when he gets out of football is to become a pastor. And he's studying, he's doing seminary work now. He's really trying to build his faith and grow in his faith and all. And when the Philadelphia Eagles came to Charlotte to play our Panthers, my son and I went to see the game, and we were right on the field, first row, right behind the Panthers bench. But I saw things in that game I've never seen. I normally go to one or two NFL games a year. And but I know the big controversy about the kneeling and all, and I understand how it upsets a lot of people. But I saw something that game I'd never seen. When somebody got injured, I looked over, every one of the Philadelphia Eagles were on their knees praying for the guy. The guys on the field were on their knee, took a knee, and they were to pray, not to protest, to pray. And I looked over, their entire bench was down on their knees praying. That happened a couple of times in the game, and then I watched some of the Panthers, who I knew were Christians. They started doing the same thing. And that's a different kind of kneeling. That's the kind of kneeling I think we need to see in the NFL. Now, it didn't matter. It didn't seem to matter which team the guy was injured from. The Eagles were all praying for him. I don't know. I was a part, with Reggie White and a lot of other friends where we saw tremendous move of God through the NFL and the NBA for a period of time. Feels like something else is building there. So anyway, I'm just saying that about the Eagles. And I know there's some great Christians on every team. And but anyway, enjoy the weekend, and I'll be back ranting and raving next week. Thank you for joining today's.